Welcome to our South African roots. This little villages structure also poses an opportunity for supermarkets. The little village structures will need to have quick stops or mini marts so that the citizens employed by the companies can be supplied by the supermarkets without having to potentially travel for long distances to get the necessities. Mining. Investors in mining and the people willing to keep the mines going has steadily decreased, probably because of the trade unions and continuous striking by employees. There has been little to no support from the government to upkeep mining, so many mines have closed, leaving communities jobless and old mines to be overrun and overtaken by thugs. Investors in mining can use the little villages structure to employ citizens and use the principal idea of the military raids to clear out these mines and use the resources for exports, etc. Private sector. The idea is not to monopolize one company using all of the land rental, but rather to incorporate as many companies into the little villages structure to create diversity and ensure as many opportunities as possible. That includes the ability to rent land to private companies that may want to not be centralized around the industries I have pointed towards. Automation and transportation. With an increase in these industries, greenhouse gases are going to increase. Why is this a problem? Each country is only able to produce so many gases that contributes towards global warming before they get into trouble. To simplify the problem, when we support the farmers and the other local industries into booming, there is a potential for an increase in greenhouse gases. Our citizens will need to be focused on reducing their greenhouse gas emissions to prevent too much pollution all at once. This will mean looking at alternative modes of transport that no longer rely on hefty price of petrol that people are paying. Hydro vehicles will need to be strongly suggested to the public along with the support from companies within the little villages structure. If large quantities of companies switch to hydro vehicles, we can drastically reduce emissions. This means that all the automation companies will need to, as quickly as possible, start working on strategies to produce a variety of hydro-powered cars that look like cars within their ranges already available, and potentially expand to create new jobs. You cannot expect industries to not expand because we need jobs. However, we can reduce the effects on the environment by looking at alternative options for transportation. If government officials had the support with these possibilities, they would be able to create additional business opportunities for the businessmen within the automation sector. The pricing for hydro vehicles would need to be affordable. However, you can factor in that the consumer will be paying a large amount less for petrol, and we can set the hydro fuel at a rate that will allow for some wiggle room, factoring in payment for these stations and their employees. The average South African would be able and willing to support if it meant more jobs for the locals and helping the environment to allow for additional business expansion. Locals are tired of paying large portions of their salaries towards petrol. Reducing greenhouse gases would also mean that less airplanes fly daily. Looking into the railway systems to get back on track and ensure that we have better run train systems that produce less greenhouse gases. This will also alleviate the pressure on roads for tracking long distances using trucks, and also means that the government funding will not need to constantly be directed towards road repairs as is currently taking place.